William Tanuwijaya, welcome to Conversation With.
Hi Lynn, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
William, when is Tokopedia going to turn a profit?
So it's never really in our current focus because today we are serving 78 million monthly active users, but Indonesia is like 260 million population. We are serving 4 million merchants that starting their business together with us, but Indonesia have 60 million SME. So we see that the room of opportunity to grow is still huge, and our focus is actually to continuously educate the market, to continuously stick to our mission, democratize commerce through technology, and we believe if we do so, the profit will come eventually.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that you won't give a date when you think that Tokopedia is going to be profitable.
Yeah.
But can you afford to just, keep pushing this forward? It sounds more like a social enterprise than a business, William.
So to be honest, then the company itself is already break-even if we don't grow the market. We are not.
So you're breaking even already.
Already, if we are not growing to the next
so
model.
if you stopped now, so to say, you would actually be already at break-even point.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. When did that happen? In 2017 and 2018?
Since a couple of years ago. So we already
have a couple of years ago already.
We have a multiple revenue generator stream, right? So from the customer, then we have advertising model. From the logistic, actually we generate revenue. So from a lot of our business model, we actually already generate revenue, but profitable itself is not the current focus. We actually continuously invest our revenue to grow the model.
From a sort of ordinary person's perspective, though, why not then, slow down on the growth and generate a profit? Would that not satisfy your investors more?
Actually, I recently have a conversation with Masayoshi-san. He said, and which I agree, that...
From SoftBank?
From SoftBank, yeah.
Yes, one of your big investors.
Yes. So if we see this universe, any species actually survive through two things: continuously reproduce through reproduction, or second part is actually evolution. And through the business, we also see a good company will continuously do what they do best and do it better. It's a reproduction. But the best company is actually evolve. They continuously evolve to be something else, to become a greater ecosystem. So we aspire to be that kind of company that live for the next couple hundred years.
This is being, though, pretty ambitious, William, because you're saying that you think you're going to be around for a couple of 100 years. Tokopedia will exist in a couple of 100 years. That's
our aspiration, yeah.
A business traditionally is, you make something, you sell it, you have costs, but then you have a profit. That's the way of thinking. Well, yours sounds like a completely different animal from traditional business models. Do you think that that's sustainable from a dollars and cents point of view?
Again, it's not a social business, meaning that we actually generate revenue, and the revenue is growing very, very fast growing together with our business. And we just invest again that revenue to the business itself to evolve to some business model that we didn't provide in the past. So I'll give you an example. When we start, we're just providing a marketplace model, open marketplace model. You provide a platform where everyone can start their business and facilitate the transaction to the customer. But many years ago, I tried to convince my father-in-law to use Tokopedia. But for him to buy a product from a stranger that he never met before, a product that he never see before, is something that's too absurd. And that is actually a barrier of entry, right? And then I start to observe his daily life. And I realized that he actually from time to time go to ATM machine to pay for utility bills. In Indonesia, electricity or mobile recharge is actually a lot is prepaid. So if like forget to pay your electricity bills, and it's like on the midnight you need to find ATM machine to top up your electricity bills. So with that kind of inspiration, we actually start to build a new business model that non-existent in Tokopedia. We start to actually build any use case possible that we can think of. You can now pay mobile recharge, insurance, electricity, anything through Tokopedia. So now, a couple years ago when that happens, 2 years ago when that happens, I can actually pitch to my father-in-law. Instead of going to ATM machine, now you have your ATM machine in your mobile phone. And that's his first interaction with Tokopedia, is actually to pay bills. But because of that, the barrier of entry is removed. And now he actually start to buy products from Tokopedia because that trust is already there. So if like we think about Tokopedia today, having 78 million monthly active users, if like we want to aim the next 100 million customer, then we need to think about how we actually be able to remove that barrier of entry. And to think about that, a lot of R&D need to be done, and that a new market need to be educated, and that's where the investment is usually be put in places.
Well, if you say idols become rivals, then do you think that Tokopedia will ever be bigger than Alibaba? Alibaba has, recently put a great deal of money into Tokopedia. So the question is that how much say, though, does Alibaba have in your business now, in the day-to-day running? Or do they just give you the money and say, run with it, do what you want with it?
Yeah, I'm very privileged to meet with all these investors that believe in the long term. So each of the investors own a minority stake in the company. They don't have a management seat in the company. So today, the company, the whole management team is actually built by myself and the teams. So it's a very independent company. And it's good to have like a couple of key big shareholders, Alibaba, SoftBank, Sequoia Capital, that in this market actually invest or have a multiple portfolio that is actually competing against each other.
Alibaba's also invested in Lazada, which is based in Singapore. What if Alibaba came in and said, hey, I think it'd be a good idea if you merged with Lazada? What would you say?
I never start the business. We never start the business with the goal to sell the company. So having said that, consolidation might happen in the future, but we have the ambition if like we want to run this market.
So the difficulty, of course, is from the consumer point of view, whether or not actually, although there are all these various names, are all these businesses being run by just a couple of big venture capitalists?
I say that...
they're the ones pulling the strings, pulling your strings as well.
We actually run very independently. So we always see Alibaba as an inspiration from the day one of the company. How they actually, and the model is very the same, right? So supporting the small business and so on. And actually when they acquire Lazada in the market, I send the letter to all employees, to all, we call it nakama. I told the teams that work until your idols become your rivals. And for that we take a pride, we work so hard until our idols become our rivals. And fast forward, 2 years after that, our rivals actually become our teachers again. So now we actually benefit from the Alibaba investment. From every month, we actually send our team members to learn about the China market. And this time travel machine, what happens in China today doesn't happen yet in Indonesia. But we can pick certain model, certain customer behavior, and we know in the next 2 to 3 years, Indonesia customer might need this. So this kind of like learning is very beneficial to us.
Well, if you say idols become rivals, then do you think that Tokopedia will ever be bigger than Alibaba?
So I think the value proposition will be very different. Of course, our aspiration is like one day in the world stakes, we will see Amazon, Alibaba, and people no longer refer Tokopedia as Amazon of Indonesia or Alibaba of Indonesia, but people will refer Tokopedia as Tokopedia from Indonesia, and that global stakes being equal.
But William, do you intend to expand outside of Indonesia?
Maybe not today. So today we see that Indonesia market, we still have a lot of underserved market. So we need to focus on Indonesia first to build the next generation of commerce, next generation of payment and the fintech solution, and next generation of the logistics. Once we really fulfill our mission to democratize commerce through technology in Indonesia market, that will be the moment that we'll start to think about market expansion. And that, when we think about the market expansion, your first questions about profitability is very important. We will not expand to other markets by really rely on the investor funding. We can only invest on other markets when our balance sheet is already allow us to do that.
Ah, very interesting. So you're saying that Indonesia really is your home market, and you make things good here before you go outside.
Make good here, be profitable from this market, and then from that profit, we will invest to our globalization strategy.
You're supposed to be, the Amazon of Indonesia rather than just say Tokopedia. We keep referring to the Silicon Valley model. Is the Silicon Valley model actually good for e-commerce here in Asia?
I believe there will be only one Silicon Valley, but this generation has witnessing how Silicon Valley transformed the world by helping people's life to become much more convenient using technology, how technology unlocks so many opportunity and possibility. And in the past 1 decade, we start to hear that words. China is the next Silicon Valley, and then India is the next Silicon Valley, and then Indonesia, is it the next Silicon Valley, or is it the next China, or is it the next India, right? So, but we see how this new wave of entrepreneur be inspired by the role model of the early days Silicon Valley, on how this homegrown entrepreneur that start from one person or two person focus on solving the local market's problem to become a global services. And we start to see this startup grow very fast to become multi-billion-dollar company. So I would say that while Silicon Valley is only one, the mindset, the idea behind that being an inspiration for the generation. And I would say this generation is the luckiest generation ever, because in internet era is the era of underdog, where everyone can challenge the status quo against all the odds, somehow survive and eventually win. Alibaba early days, they are underdog. When eBay enters the market, eBay owned 97% and so on. But today, Alibaba is the homegrown champion. Tokopedia, early days, we also compete with all the big giants that are above our weight. But today, we still exist. We are leading the market to become a homegrown champion. So I would say that this will continuously happen across the globe.
So if you apply to your own company, if you apply to Tokopedia now, would you hire yourself? One of the things I noticed when you're talking is that you say that a lot of it has to stem from solving local problems, solving local challenges, or helping local businesses. Is that the way to think if you were to give a recommendation to a young entrepreneur? Don't start thinking global. Still always try and solve something small before you go to the big.
Depends where your market is. If like your homegrown entrepreneur in Singapore, for example, then the total addressable market might be too small. So since day one, you need to think about the global market. But if like you're in market that have a benefit of a large population, China, India, US, Indonesia, then you have that benefit to really think how to provide the best solution for your own market. I always have this one advice when I start early. The biggest challenge is actually when the trust issues that I mentioned, right? So the worst advice that I got when I started is actually this, potential investors that say to me that, William, you are still young and you can only have your youth once in your life. So don't waste your time. Your role model is all these Silicon Valley founder. They are all born special, you are not. So stop daydreaming. So that really saddened me, because in Indonesia, we don't have this concept of American dream. We don't have Indonesian dream. So that's why people always measure you from your track record, not from your vision of the future. But I believe that past is something that we cannot change, but future is still in our own hand. So it saddened me because our founding father, Sukarno, our first president, is actually said, dream as high as the sky. If you fall, you'll fall amongst the stars. Bermimpilah setinggi langit, jika engkau jatuh, engkau akan jatuh di antara bintang-bintang. It saddened me where in such a short time, as today, we already encourage the youth to stop daydreaming. So if I can say anything to the young population, to the youth, I would say that dream as high as possible, but dream with your eyes open. So how to dream with your eyes open is what you dream, what you think, what you say, and what you do need to be consistent. If you can do that, if you can dream, think, speak, and do consistently, there's no dream that too big to achieve.
I mean, we're sitting here in your absolutely beautiful, tower here. It's called Tokopedia Tower. You have all of these employees. Don't you think that it would lull you also even into feeling that you've arrived, that you've made it, you're now successful?
That's our biggest fear, right? So our biggest fear is never about this competition of the big name. Our biggest fear is if we lose this underdog spirit, because the biggest challenge that we know is always ourselves. We question from the history of time. Nokia used to own 80% market share, or eBay used to become the biggest e-commerce in the world. But now, they are no longer relevant to the customer. How fast this technology can grow from a startup to become a multi-billion-dollar company, but how fast it is to turn an 80% market share company to become irrelevant. So that's why the one that can continuously survive is the one that not only reproduce, it's also the one that can evolve to become something else. And to evolve, you need to continuously have that underdog mentality.
Who's your biggest critic? Who's the person who keeps you on the ground, William? There's one who says, yeah, dream fantastically, but hey, keep your eyes open. Who's the one who tells you to keep your eyes open?
I would say myself. So I continuously ask that to myself, right? So every day I continuously reflect what I do wrong today, what our failure instead of what our success. We put that growth mindset as a key DNA in the company. And if you want to live your words, there's a sincerity to share like a teacher, but humility and curiosity to learn like a student, then you cannot continuously just be a teacher. From time to time, you need to have that humility. What I can learn today, what I can learn this week, what I can learn from this incident or from this success.
You said yourself you come from very sort of humble origins. I mean, you learned what you know about coding and everything else at an internet cafe, but all the people who are coming into you now, the young graduates, these 25-year-olds, they have university degrees, and you are hiring people who've come from these prestigious universities. Do you think you're sliding into that trap of going the conventional way, getting people who have computer science degrees or finance degrees, and maybe just don't have that kind of hunger that you had when you started?
We believe in meritocracy. We don't really just judge the talents based on their track record and background. But having said that, it's being challenged. If every month you actually receive 100,000 applicants, and then your team will start to filter from these 100,000 who deserve better chance, then that's come from their degree, right? So actually, I haven't knows the answer. This is the questions that I threw to our people department. If William Tanuwijaya from 2009 applied to this company, I'm not sure that William Tanuwijaya will actually have the chance to actually even go to the interview process. And that's how we need to continuously challenge ourselves.
Exactly, that's right. So if you apply to your own company, if you apply to Tokopedia now, would you hire yourself?
I would, but the question is like, will that William even like go through that process? Like, so that is not easy. When you run a company with like more than thousands of people, you cannot run it just by the gut feeling. You need to start to build a system and a process, right? And then you need to continuously challenge that system and process.
You've talked about the worst advice you were given. What's the best advice you were given?
I would say the best advice is, I have a lot of good advice actually from time to time. But then from recent discussion with Master Son, he's actually saying one thing that also struck with me. It's actually to limit yourself to become limitless. Limit yourself to become limitless.
I don't think I understand that.
Yeah. So he's mentioning how he actually invests to this big family, a group, right? When he invests in Tokopedia, for example, he doesn't control the company. He limits himself. But then he partners with this local champion that eventually he is also like indirectly winning the market. So I find that limit yourself to become limitless is a very fascinating. It's the same philosophy if like you continuously invest on this and convince this young talent and give them the opportunity. Hey, Tokopedia one day will not be the CEO, will not always be William Tanuwijaya. You can actually be the CEO of this company. We want to build a more than 100 years company.
William Tanuwijaya, thank you very much for being in conversation with. Always a very stimulating talk with you.
Thank you for having me, Lynn. Pleasure to be here.